from John's Grill on Berry Street in Fort Worth. Welcome to the Players Club with hosts Emma Holquist and Olivia Lee, and featuring TCU student athletes. Brought to you by John's Grill online at johnsgrill.com and by Fans Vintage, the Frog Fam's #1 source for rare and vintage TCU gear. Now, here are Emma and Olivia.
To another episode of the Players Club, live from John's Grill. I'm Olivia Lee.
And I'm Emma Holquist.
And we are so happy to be here for another week talking to two different TCU student athletes about their lives both in and outside of their sport. Isn't that right, Emma?
Yep, that's right. And this week we are happy to be joined by two members of our equestrian team, Mady Buchanan and Wynne Weatherly. Welcome, girls.
Thank you. So happy to have you guys. Wynne, your name, I'm obsessed with it.
Oh,
Is
thank you.
Is that like a family name, or how did that come about?
So my grandmother's name is Wynne, and my mom just wanted to take out the I and shorten it up a little bit. So Wynne it was.
So cute. I literally saw that. I immediately thought you should be on like the Weather Channel or something.
Yeah.
That would be perfect for you.
No celeb name for
Yeah,
sure.
seriously. Like that will carry you far. Well, we want to dive right into everything about both of you guys. Start with equestrian, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all just earned the #4 seed in the NCEA National Championship, set to face #5 Texas A&M. So, congrats, that's huge,
Thank
right?
you.
And they're ranked #5.
Yes.
You guys are #4. So they seem to be somewhat of a competitor in terms of equestrian and whoever else is putting forward good teams. How are you guys approaching this final tournament of the season and taking on Texas A&M?
I think, well, we've gone against them twice this season, which it's really not normal for us to go against SEC teams.
Okay.
We typically stay against Big 12. So, but we've beat them both times. We beat them at A&M and we beat them by a reasonable amount when they came home.
Hey.
So I think we're feeling pretty good, but we also know like any team within NCEA, you can't really count them out.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a complex sport. You can't just rule it out and just be like, oh, we beat them here, we beat them there, we're going to beat them there. We know we have to prepare and be ready to take them on at nationals, especially because we want to obviously move on to the next rounds.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to come in like angry because you guys beat them? Like,
For sure.
Yeah,
really?
Big time. They weren't too happy when they were at TCU anyway, so I think they'll still be a little salty.
So I'm curious, like, when you go up against Texas A&M, you're saying they weren't happy about losing. Is that just because they lost, or is there some sort of like subjective calls that can be made in equestrian? Like, how does that kind of work?
Equestrian
it's a judge, right?
Yeah, it's extremely subjective because it is one person.
Yeah.
So there are times that you'll see someone go and you'll be like, that was so beautiful. They should definitely get the point.
Yeah.
And they don't, because that judge is just not their style. They didn't like that. They didn't like how she did this or that.
Wow.
So I think a lot of times if you do lose, you can sometimes blame the judge, blame all sorts of like extraneous factors.
Yeah.
And I kind of think maybe that was a part of it that day. They just weren't expecting to lose by such a significant amount, which, I mean, we've been there. It stings. You're not happy. You're finding every reason to make it make sense. But yeah, I think they'll come guns a-blazing.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It is so subjective. Damn.
Yeah.
Compared to like swimming, like times, like stuff, like that's crazy. It's like,
well, I was more going to compare it to maybe like, you could talk about this, but like diving, right? That's a little bit subjective.
Yeah,
I mean, there's obviously certain parts of it that are, you earn a point if you do this, but at the same time, if the judge doesn't like your style, it's not going to work out for you. So
do you ever like warm up to the judges? Or you ever like super nice?
Yeah.
Well, we really don't get to interact with them before they sit down. I mean, we have girls for each meet who scribe, so they take the notes for the judge, write down the scores, and video. But it can't be the same girls who are going later in the day, so you really don't get to interact with the judge.
Yeah.
Even the judge, only now I think for my discipline, reining, can they watch you warm up. So you have your 4 minutes where you get to ride the horse, feel them out, and then you go and compete. And now they're allowed to watch just the reining, but they have their backs faced to you until you're literally trotting in the arena ready to go.
Wow.
It's serious.
Yeah.
Serious.
So they're they don't want to get any prejudgment of your race or your horse. That's crazy. I had no idea that's how that worked. Well, you guys had a 12-3 record overall this season so far. 6-0 at home, I read.
Yeah.
And at home, is that how far away is that from here? Like home arena or equestrian barn? I don't know. What do you call it?
It's about 20 minutes south. We just have a farm in Burleson.
Cool.
And they lease the property, and we just drive straight up the Chisholm. So it's pretty easy.
And so 6-0 there. And last season, you guys lost how many at home? Do you remember? A few.
I don't like to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I blacked that part out.
Seriously, you're focused on this season because you're undefeated at home. So was there a different approach you guys took to this season in terms as like an equestrian program? You're like, we're going to be undefeated at home and have this great record so far this year.
I mean, absolutely. We're both captains, so we really were over the summer, worked a lot. Our coaches brought in, I don't even know what you would really call her title would be.
We're like a sports psychologist.
Yeah, sports psychologist, like mental game kind of coach.
We worked on leadership development.
Yeah, we didn't want to. I think because our first half of last season was so difficult, and we came back so strong. So it's the same exact team from first to second season. So it's we knew we had it in us, and over the summer that was really we just took a huge part in trying to decide like how are we going to get that out right away, and not get to the point where we're losing and so mad and upset, because we know we can do it. Our team's really capable. Even this year, the past 2 years, it's been such a strong team. Yeah. So it was just trying to tap into that capability right away versus just getting into it.
Yeah, that's also interesting because you carry it's an individual sport and a team sport, but it's an individual sport. So if you're carrying over the same riders, there's got to be something that sparks that difference and pulls it out of someone. That totally makes sense. You could just go to being the same team and repeat the same year, like you said. So that makes sense that you needed something to kind of spark that energy. And I mean, you guys have talked about how important like the sports psychology of things plays a role. I mean, I think it was the tennis guys that were talking to us. They meditate before their matches and stuff like that. I mean, how do you feel like that has played a direct role? And you guys, you can both touch on this personally in how you ride and how you approach your events or different tournaments and stuff that you have.
So I started actually, the roster before I came in was all seniors. So my freshman year, we were kind of just thrown in and we had to go. Yeah. And we didn't talk about mental game much. Yeah. And my freshman and sophomore year, we kind of struggled. And then I started reading a bunch of sports psychology books and started getting really into that. And now I do meditating and visualizing before I go in. Yeah. And my record has improved tenfold. Wow. And I think all the team has started kind of implementing those mental strength things because most teams are talented. Most teams are strong in the NCAA, but it's the mental side that gives you that extra edge, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to have a strong mental game in any sport, but I could see equestrian really being something where you need to be focused and you're have mental sharpness almost, right? Oh, yeah. So that's definitely improving you. Now, I read Oklahoma State and Baylor were two of your losses this season. Is that the two? Okay. Sure. So would you say that teams from the South and teams in Texas are generally more competitive in equestrian, or what does your competition look like year to year?
So historically, the SEC teams are really, really strong. Okay. Last year, one of the only teams that we really struggled with second semester was Oklahoma State. Okay. And they won the national championship last year. So it's shifting more towards the Big 12. Yeah. I would definitely say that's one of the stronger conferences right now. Okay. But for sure, schools from the South, you just draw a lot of, I think, horse people. Yeah. Definitely the South.
And are there any, is Pac-12 have equestrian teams?
No. So it's really SEC, Big 12, and then it's East Coast.
Athletic conference. Yeah.
So when you're looking at schools to ride at, you're never really looking in California or on the West Coast necessarily.
So Fresno is an affiliate of the Big 12.
Okay.
And so there's Fresno and then there's UC Davis. Those are the two California schools.
Got it. Which makes sense actually thinking about it. The UC Davis area, I could see equestrian being strong. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
I understand the East Coast vibes too. I feel like a lot of horseback riding over there.
Yeah, and what they polo, right? They play polo on the East Coast. I think a little bit.
Everything. A lot of the English side.
Yeah, East Coast is huge for us.
Yeah. Okay. For Western Texas, North Texas, where we are, and where I'm from, Arizona, are the two hubs for Western events.
No way.
Yeah. That's
North
really
Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So just Gainesville area, I don't even know, Pilot Point, all these little towns.
Yeah.
And there's just thousands of barns. That's over exaggerating, but they're all up there.
I feel like there's got to be very distinct areas that people are like feeding from, like, you know what I mean? Because in my area, there's not a large number of people that are like, yeah, I'm into equestrian. But then for you, you're like, yeah, I know a ton of people that do it.
Yeah.
It just depends where you are. So that's so interesting because I wonder where everyone's kind of coming in from.
Yeah.
Now, you guys mentioned English before. We were talking a little bit before the show about the different types of riding. Me and Emma don't know a ton about it.
No idea. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah. Can you kind of break down first starting like is it a tournament or an event? What's the proper terminology? A meet. Okay, so I want to make sure I pronounce that right. So you have a meet, kind of break down what that day looks like, how you're scored, how many different events you're participating in, stuff like that.
Like what are the events?
Yeah, so we need to know everything.
Yeah, there's 4 events
Everything.
total. In total, we have 40-ish girls on our team usually every year.
Wow.
And so that divides even further down into like about 20 and 20 English and Western. And then within those 2 groups, it goes flat fences for English. And then for Western, it goes reining and horsemanship. So it's really narrowed down to your discipline. And a lot of girls actually do both. But meet days it's completely different than any other sport. It's not, it's an all day thing. You don't just show up, like warm up, go, you're done. You have a little meeting. We are there as early as 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And you are there till as late as 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes later if the arenas get like flooded 7. Or, if there's bad weather, all those sorts of things. So they're very long days. Like we just came back from Big 12s, which was 4 days in Stillwater. And it was, 6-7 hour days each day.
Yeah, and 4 days in Stillwater.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's its own problem.
That's my
Dang.
of a good time.
Oh my God, wow. That's great. And so weather plays a role in it too. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So is not every like arena or barn or whatever covered? None of them are covered at all?
Depends.
Yeah,
Okay.
it depends. So
Okay.
we are fortunate to have like a really beautiful facility,
Yeah.
and we have 3 arenas. One's covered, one's indoor, and one's outside. So the jumping is outside, and so a lot of times when that gets flooded with rain, like we've been having a ton of rain, things shift around, and so the day can get longer on meet days if there is bad weather.
Put all events
It
in
affects
one
the
ring.
horses because like all of a sudden a cold front comes in, they have a ton of energy, they start acting crazy. It's like a whole different ball game.
Wow.
So many variables.
To me, that seems like the sport that it can be the most affected by weather. I mean, baseball, football, they can have delays, but it's not affecting the ball that they're playing with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
Right,
you
for
have
sure.
a live animal that you're dealing with as well. So that obviously is going to play a role in the sport every day. Are there times where your horse is just like not having a good day and is not cooperating? Like, is that a very consistent issue? Or
Oh, yeah, for sure.
and how do you correct it? Are there like things that like can you communicate with your horse? Like I just don't
I
understand.
know. It's so
Like
wild.
you're
you guys,
relying
like,
on
have to-
another live animal. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
So I think horses all have different personalities. Like we get to know them, and some horses like, oh, they really don't like when you do this or that or move your leg this way. And like you were saying, like with the home meets, so that's why it's such a big advantage because you do know your horse's temperaments and like you get to ride your own horses on your own meet day. So that's why it's such a big home field thing. But you can correct it. It's just training and going back to basics and just working with them, not against them because they're animals.
And on meet days, you only get like 4 minutes, like I said. So if that horse comes out in a bad mood, like you can't correct it in 4 minutes. Like there's not. You have to either figure out how to like get around it, like do something that's just gonna like kind of put a Band-Aid on it, or you just have to like fake it till you make it sometimes, where you're just like, okay, like I don't like you right now, you don't like me, but like how are we gonna make this like a good deal?
Dude, that's wild. Do you feel like you guys are like so patient? Like you just have
No,
patience?
no. I mean, it's definitely helped you like practice patience, but there are times like you ride them and you're like, usually, yesterday you were so great during practice and today you came out, maybe it's bad weather, maybe it's just, I don't know, you're in a bad mood, they're in a bad mood, whatever it is. And sometimes it's even harder when you're at home because you know that horse's capabilities. And so when you get them on a meet day, and because the draw is completely random, you have no idea who you're on.
What?
It's drawn that
You don't get the same horse that you practice on?
No.
No
Very
way.
rarely. Yeah, no, you don't get the same horse
So
drawn.
is that their way of like making sure there's no advantage at all?
I guess
Yeah,
that makes
it's one of the
sense.
ways. So yeah, you could pull like your least favorite horse, you could pull your favorite horse, you could pull your favorite horse, and it could be a bad day for them. And there's just
Is that just a college and professional thing?
Just a college
Just
riding
a college
Just a
thing.
college.
Yeah.
Who's
So
your
I'll-
favorite horse?
I have like a trio of faves.
Okay.
But right now it's this horse named Roxy. She's super cute. Yeah.
Do you have one? Favorite horse?
Gypsy is his name.
Yes.
Wow, I had no idea. I thought you guys were riding whatever horse that you train with. That's like your horse.
I knew at like away meets you had to
ride there.
That makes sense to
That
me. You can't travel with the horse, but at home meets, I would expect
you get the same.
Well,
one.
and that is one of the biggest changes from riding before college to coming to college is because you always ride the same horse.
Right.
And so some girls have not, shown more than 2 or 3 horses in their entire life, and all of a sudden you're coming here and you're riding 20 horses in a season, maybe more.
Yeah, maybe more.
So it is a huge
have to adapt.
shift. You have to be quick to, make a game plan for you're watching that horse warm up and you're like, oh my God, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. And then you get on and that doesn't work. So you just got to keep be very adaptable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so impressive. We need to dive into this further. We're going to head to a quick commercial break, but when we return, we're going to hear way more about all that is equestrian. Can't wait to learn a little bit more. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
On the pursuit of happiness, and I know everything is shining like it's gonna be.
Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay Dixon, the proud owner and founder of Fans Vintage. We sell rare and vintage gear for all things TCU. I graduated from TCU with an MBA in 2020 and actually started Fans Vintage as part of a class project during COVID. And now, 2 years later, we've grown from selling random vintage gear on Instagram into a full-time retail business with rare and custom gear you can't find anywhere else. This business has always been about creating a community of passionate fans and bringing people together where nostalgia and school pride collide.
We couldn't have gotten here without your tremendous enthusiasm and support. So thank you, and we can't wait to share what's next.
Stay tuned, and as always, go Frogs.
Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
This is Cowtown Headache Center, a neurology clinic that specializes in headache medicine. We offer standard oral medications, we offer trigger point injections, we offer multiple nerve blocks, we offer infusions both for prevention medication and for acute relief. My name is Andrew Levere. I'm a physician assistant that has a special certification from the National Headache Foundation in headache medicine. Patients are pretty shocked when I tell them we have tons of options for them and that we can do better than what they're doing. I don't just tell you, here's one medicine we're going to try. I'll give them options, and then ultimately we choose together as the provider and patient. It's very satisfying to know that we're changing people's lives.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPI Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Players Club, live from John's Grille. I'm Olivia Lee, joined by my co-host, Emma Hillquist, as well as 2 lovely members from TCU Equestrian, Wynne and Mady. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. We're really diving into equestrian. Just before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to Fans Vintage, your official sponsor for #1 spot for all rare and vintage TCU gear. Make sure to give them a follow at Fans Vintage Gear on Twitter and Instagram, and find them online at fansvintage.com. They have a little pop-up shop here in the back. It's super fun, so you got to come join us at John's Grille and check out all of their goodies. Now, we were just really getting into the deep diving of equestrian. We had so many questions. Now, do you guys both ride, it's English and Western saddle, and you both ride one, or do you do different?
So I do English. And within English, we have fences and flat.
Okay.
So fences is like you get a set course of a bunch of jumps and everyone does the same pattern and it's scored out of 100.
Okay.
And then flat, which is what I specialize in, you're in got like a box of I don't really it's like
No
planks
better word
put into
for
a
it.
box.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a
box.
box.
And there are letters that go around it. And you do specific maneuvers that each of the letters. So if you guys have ever seen like the Snoop Dogg video where he commentates the Olympics,
yeah.
that's kind of what we're doing in this.
Oh my
And that's
gosh.
also out of 100. So you just
But I ride in the Western saddle and I do reining, and that's with the reining and horsemanship, and it's completely different. Like we'll do switch days,
Yeah.
and they'll get on our horses and we'll get on their horses, and
And
it's
it
a lot
blows
of
your
girls
mind.
do have experience like doing both, or at
Yeah.
some point, like I did jumping when I was little, and but it's a completely different level of like backyard riding or just
Yeah.
messing around to
Wow.
collegiately riding and doing it and handling
for
being
sure.
able to get on all those different horses. And
So when like the average person thinks about equestrian, are they thinking typically like Western, or are they thinking English? Like what's
Western,
Yeah.
I think.
I always think jumping. Maybe it's just
Really?
good. Yeah, I always think
Oh, I always
somebody.
think
If I
Western.
tell
Okay,
somebody
yeah.
I ride horses,
Yeah.
they either
They
think I like race horses.
I-
they
my
either
brain
think
race
goes to
horses.
racing.
Okay,
yeah,
you're
they
right.
either think I
Racing
do
is
like
where-
barrel racing
Okay.
or jumping.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wait, and that's on the Western side,
Jumping's on the English
English
side.
side.
English side,
Yeah.
and racing is
Barrel racing
We'll do
is
racing.
on the Western side,
Okay.
and horse racing is like
It's an
a
English.
league of its
Is,
own.
hor-
English,
is
yeah.
horse racing is men's and women's
Oh
What
no,
just
no.
men's sport?
I think you can do.
Either?
Yeah,
What
Uh,
does
okay.
Bella Hadid be doing?
She does what I do.
Yeah, she does English.
does what I do.
What's Bella
Yeah.
And
Hadid
she
doing?
jumps, and actually, because a huge hub for jumping is in Wellington, so there was like 5 girls on the team who went to Florida
They were, like, shooting.
2 weekends ago, and were like competing with her. They were like sending pictures of her in the group chat.
Oh
and I was
my
like,
We're like,
God,
oh, Bella Hadid's like right ahead of me in the
interesting.
order. We're like,
Wow.
okay, cool.
Work. Wait, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
no,
that's
she's good.
a cool
She's
memory
good.
to have. That's really impressive. So when you guys come to college, you coming in, you both said that you kind of had experience in both prior, but do you have to decide, okay, I'm doing English, I'm doing Western, and like set your sights on your specific specialties?
I don't think I've never seen anyone do both. I
Okay.
think just because when you're at this level, you'd rather specialize so
Yeah,
that you can
makes
just, go all in on one.
Yeah.
I know girls who can do both, but I've never seen it done at the college
I
level.
don't think collegiately you can do English and Western within a meet. You have to pick one or the other. Like I don't know if anybody's ever practiced doing both. I think I've heard stories, but
You've heard
yeah,
tales.
I've heard
You've heard
tales.
tales.
Big
Yeah.
tales. I don't know how they
Yeah.
would do that, because there's girls who do just like horsemanship and reining, and you do double practices, and you show 2 times in a meet. And because I came in doing horsemanship and reining, and very quickly I was like, oh yeah, I'm only doing reining.
Yeah,
Like it is tough. It's a huge,
It's a huge
commitment.
time commitment to
Time
do
commitment,
like
yeah.
double practicing. So
Yeah. And I guess you could maybe relate in the sense of swim, like when they came on well,
Retired.
she's retired, but
she's retired.
in her
I'm
active
sorry,
I
swim?
used to swim. Yeah.
yeah, in her active swim era. No, but we talked about it on the show last week when we were saying, do you race multiple events? It's like you kind of hone in on one or
Yeah,
two
you have to. Yeah.
because your training is like you can't be doing everything,
Everything,
and
yeah.
trying
Right.
to learn that skill. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're, frankly, even for positions in football or baseball, like everyone has their specialty.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting with racing, or not racing, but with equestrian. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's a pretty, like it's 4 minutes. It's a short race. So you would, or a short event. What am I?
Event.
I like get all the words jumbled. A short event, like I would think that you guys would do more, but it's almost so difficult that you can't.
I think it's just
Yeah.
so different, the types of riding.
Yeah.
And at least for me, reigning's always been my favorite,
Yeah.
and it's just so fun to me. And I did love the horsemanship, but it's a completely different skill set and type of riding. It's a lot more about your body position. You're much more composed. You try to stay very still on the horse, which is very different to reining, where it doesn't really matter what your body does or looks like.
yeah.
So I think it just requires a different level of commitment to do both. And I think the girls who do both are so impressive. But early on, I just was like, yeah, I'm just going to stick to the one.
Yeah, smart decision. Can you tell when someone, I could not tell if someone was riding Western versus English. I'm sure you guys can tell.
Yeah.
But can you tell when you're going up against your competition, like, oh, she's got this, and this going for her in this event? And like you guys can just directly see that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Can you
'Cause
guys watch their warm ups?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your backs turned. You
No.
No, you
Just
can watch
the judge
them.
for the warm
Yeah,
up.
just the judge, because you can watch your horse if the girl goes first or second, and so that's like a whole other story too. Is like you draw the same horse, and then it's like, oh, do you go first or second on that horse? Sometimes it's a huge advantage going first. Sometimes it's a huge advantage going second. It
Really?
just depends on the horse.
Why?
Depends on
Because the horse
day.
is going to get tired, or
Some horses
it
get
all
tired.
depends-
They
yeah.
get cranky. If you pull them, first and it's a tired horse, you're like, oh, I have some energy left. Like, I'm good. It just depends.
so essentially equestrian, a small piece of it is luck.
Yeah,
Because
I'd say.
of drawing the horse and then the first or second. I didn't even know that played a role.
I'll never get over that.
I mean, that is literally like, Emma, you
Drawing
show
a
up to a
random horse-
swim meet
They're like,
and you draw what you're swimming.
yeah, no, actually,
You'd be
though.
screwed.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that's wild.
That-
Yeah.
That makes it. I mean, equestrian was already impressive to me. That is just like puts it
Like
over
when
the
I
top.
wear like a different pair of goggles than normal, like if mine were to snap and I have to borrow a friend,
It's game
I'm
over.
like the
Changes
whole
the
thing's
game.
over. I'm done. Like I can't swim.
It's
a
true,
random
though.
horse, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so
Crazy. Have you ever had a bad experience when you've traveled to an away tournament or something or away meet and it was a really, really bad horse?
I will say we're pretty fortunate within, at least on the Western side. I can't speak for the English side, but within the Big 12, the horses are good.
Yeah.
Rarely do you get one that you're scared of, or like, I really don't want
They're
that
all,
one.
like, safe for the most part.
Yeah,
Like, they're
there's
safe.
there's
Yeah.
definitely ones you want more than others, but there's not often do I go and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There are sometimes we've gone places where you do get a little worried, but it just depends on the school, it depends on the day.
And do you think they ever give you sort of leeway if they can just tell your horse is like having a horrible day and you can't do anything to control it? Is that ever?
That you can get a re-ride. So like one time I
Okay.
was in, I think like South Dakota, and we had a parent like flip a tablecloth as I was cantering by, and the horse just spun right around. And the
Oh,
judge can
gosh.
say like, oh, okay, like new horse.
Yeah.
They always have like an alternate
Okay.
sitting on the sidelines, so that if there is something that happens, both girls can re-ride, and you just do the point over.
Yeah, and your 4-minute warm-up goes to a 2-minute warm-up on a new horse, and then you do the same pattern and everything,
Wow.
you just do it again.
Have
Wow.
you guys ever fallen off when a horse?
Not in college,
Okay.
but
In your life, you have?
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, like
Ooh.
it's normal.
Yeah,
Like it
it's
happens?
definitely. I mean, I feel
I
like
don't
it's
like
more
falling off.
normal within English. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we'll be just like sitting in our practice, and you can see their arena, and she'll be like, oh, there she goes. Like
she's
it
taking
just like
over.
happens.
I've only
but
fallen
really-
off once at TCU, and it was like I landed on my feet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't bad.
So they never really like buck you off or anything. It's not like a bull riding.
I
or
mean,
something.
they
can.
Okay.
try. I mean,
Okay.
I've definitely had ones come out. We call it like fresh. They come out fresh. They just come up with more energy.
Wild.
Yeah.
And they'll try to pull something, and usually you just kind of like work them through it and exercise them before, and they're good. But
Yeah. So you really have to have. I mean, you have to be an animal lover. Like,
Yeah.
or it has to be somewhat. You can't be afraid of any animals, and then you have to develop a relationship with these horses, especially the home horses that you're working with, right?
Absolutely.
Do you feel like they almost like recognize like this is the team that I'm riding with? Like, do you develop that close of a relationship, like a dog and a owner,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, for sure. I mean, that's why you have favorites. That's why there's like,
Yeah.
I like
Roxy?
the Roxy.
Yeah, Roxy.
Yeah,
Shout out
there's
Roxy.
ones you-
Roxy and what
She's
was it?
watching.
Gypsy.
Gypsy. Okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
shout
yeah.
out. But yeah, they're just different each day. I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
I was just yeah, but
Sorry.
no, I asked
Thinking
like kind of a
Roxy.
multi-part question, but I feel like having a horse that you can rely on, or a few horses that you can
Oh, for
rely
sure.
on, that's playing a huge role in your guys'
Yeah.
success too. 6-0 at home, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So-
So we do call like when they have a good day, and
Yeah.
we're like, oh, they're gonna be a frog today.
Yeah.
Like you
A
can just
frog?
tell, like, oh
Like,
yeah,
oh,
they're gonna
you
be a
like
frog
purple,
today.
like, you
Yeah,
love
like
purple.
purple.
Oh,
yeah.
that's so
That's
cute.
cute.
I love
And then
that.
sometimes we'll have a day where you're like, oh, you're not a frog.
Yeah.
Like,
It
you're
wasn't a frog
totally
today.
rooting
Like,
for
okay,
the other
you're
team right now.
not.
Yeah, you're a
but-
longhorn or something,
Yeah,
like
something.
ridiculous. Now, I had a question. You said like 20 minutes south is where you travel to go to your facility.
Yes.
Does that ever make you like? Do you wish that there was a facility right here on campus? I mean, obviously you do, but like, do you ever feel disassociated or like, wow, I have to? Because they talked about they had to go somewhere else for a swim, and that played a
Oh,
role
yeah.
in that
About
this
that.
season.
Yeah, I think about
I mean,
that.
and you guys come here knowing that you're doing that, right?
Yeah.
So what is that kind of feeling like, having to travel back and forth for practice and for meets and all that stuff?
I think you kind of come in like every school that I visited. For the most part, the barn was at least 15 minutes off campus, so you kind of come in knowing that.
Yeah.
But we use all the other same facilities, so you see everyone. And my freshman year, it was 45 minutes away.
Dang.
We had a facility up in Springtown, so we drove an hour and a half every day, which was tough with class. But you get enough time in with everyone else, and it's kind of like our own little sanctuary. So we love it.
Yeah, it is really nice, and it's so beautiful out there. I do wish it was closer in a regard of people could come to more meets.
Absolutely.
That would make the biggest difference, because there are schools like A&M where it's 5 minutes off campus, and they do get like a huge student turnout. They get like their yell leaders out there. And, you know, that I think that is really cool. I mean, at our senior meet, we had like 100. They had like an alumni event or something, and there were so many people. It was really fun. But so I think that would make the biggest difference.
Yeah. For sure. And I think it would draw more attention to the sport. It's so intriguing.
Yeah.
And I think people do and want to follow it, but I mean, the 20-minute drive and whatever, we're lazy students. It's not as accessible.
On a Friday, you have class.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I feel like that could play a role in potentially you feeling removed. I was just curious if that impacts you guys. But I mean, like you said, it's a little sanctuary. That's something special that you guys have to rely on and go to.
That's a good mindset.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to look at it. Is like we have this. No one else has a little sanctuary to go to off campus and all of that. Now, I kind of want to turn to activities on campus, a little bit away from equestrian. Mady, we'll start with you. You're vice president of the Student Athlete Advisory, right?
Yes.
So tell me, a committee, how did you get involved with that? And how has it played such a role in your life as a college student at TCU?
I'm trying to think if I want to say I started when I was a junior. Okay. And I remember my freshman year, Claire Dietrich was a senior on the team, and she spoke at the big welcome back student
barbecue.
And I had no idea like why she was speaking, but I think she was the SAC president at the time.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize like what SAC was. And one of the other girls on the team, she's graduated now, but her name's JC. She was really heavily involved with SAC, and I was close friends with her, and I just slowly started to learn more about it and going to meetings, and I just immediately like dove into it. I started doing all the media for it. So I kind of almost like right away jumped onto the exec board and was just really hands-on. And it's been so much fun. I mean, I'm also the Big 12 representative for TCU.
Cool.
So I've gone, it's been that's been one of the highlights for sure.
You and Smiley?
Me, Smiley, Luke Savage, and Jazz on the track team. And over the summer, we got to go to their headquarters here in Texas and spend the weekend there and meet the new commissioner and just learn about a ton of legislation going on. And then the highlight for sure is getting to go to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
They take us there.
Y'all got like the passes.
They put us up in the big hotel right by the stadium.
Cool.
I mean, it was great because TCU obviously was in it.
Yeah.
So that was a huge highlight. And it's just so fun to meet everybody from all these different schools, athletes, and all have this like common ground. It's definitely made it's just at the top of my list of things I've gotten to do as a student athlete.
And it's cool because we get to like talk about like real stuff that's going to be voted or maybe not.
Yeah.
Like the fifth year stuff that we had to say, like
it's
whether
huge.
or not. Yeah.
It really makes a difference. And because it goes all the way up, there's like a D1 SAC, there's obviously conference SACs. So coming together and seeing, I think what's helped me the most is seeing what works at other schools and what doesn't, and like how we can improve the experience for our student athletes, like based on that. I mean, people from the OSU SAC just reached out to us and were asking about our drug testing policies because they felt like theirs were extremely harsh. Yeah. And so that was a whole conference-wide conversation to try to figure out what's the norm for that.
And I feel like y'all have done a lot with like mental health in recent years too, which has been huge.
Cool. Yeah, we've really tried to start pushing that. We just started an Athletes for Athletes kind of support group, which has been, it's still getting off the ground and running, but I think it could be huge. Yeah.
Well, I think the voice that you get, it seems like that you have and the other student athletes that are representing this committee and on the board and such, like you're really getting to have a say in your experience as a student athlete at TCU and in the Big 12 in general. That's going to play a huge role down the line for everyone that follows you in whatever sport.
Yeah, and it is, I think I just kind of glanced over it now because it's become normal, but it is a huge deal because we do get, to talk to and make a personal relationship with ADJD and even meeting, the new commissioner. He's the best. meeting the new commissioner, and like he's such an influential man, and he spent so much time with us at the Big 12 conference.
That's cool.
So it was really cool getting to talk and learn from him because he's also extremely successful.
Yeah.
And so just getting access to all those different people who want to help student athletes, it's really cool.
Yeah. And do you think you seem like you're really involved in this kind of leadership aspect of the student athletic, what is it, advisory committee? Do you think that's something you want to do maybe post grad and like take working in athletics with you? Or
thought about it for a long time, and I always kind of say like no, but it is something I'm really passionate about. So I think it's just finding maybe ways I could incorporate that or stay involved or just something, because I do really feel strongly about it.
Yeah, and all the connections you've made from that too. Now you're a grad student, correct?
I am, yes.
And you're captain as well.
I am. Yes.
How have you, well, first of all, post-grad plans. I mean, you're thinking of that, right? You're kind of in your post-grad, you're starting to think about what you're doing. You have a 5th year from COVID, but how do you think your role as a leader on the team and then being a graduate student, so you're older, like how do you think that's kind of influenced how you lead the equestrian team and girls that are kind of under you and coming up trying to fill that role that you're in?
I think the biggest thing is that I just have 1 extra year under my belt of experience and relationships, and I love, one of my favorite things is just talking to the younger girls about like, tell me what you need to talk about, vent, or get into it. Like I love talking about that stuff. And I love, like I've talked about a little bit, like the mental side of everything. That's helped me a ton. So that's mainly what I've tapped into within my leadership stuff. But just the extra year of experience and age, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, you guys seem like lovely captains, like strong leaders.
So.
No, seriously,
we're the mean ones.
That's good though, right? You gotta keep a tight belt on them, like keep them in line, right? I'm sitting with 3 captains now at this table, and we're gonna bring up Emma's old swim career. No, that's awesome. But kind of speaking on more campus activities and things you're involved in at TCU, I've asked a bunch of other athletes that have come on the show about this. Do you ever feel that when you're an athlete and having to travel, having to go to practice, having to do all these different extra things that just the average student doesn't have to do you ever feel like, wow, this is a lot? Like, I wish that I was just an average student for a day? Or is that a daily battle that you guys are having?
Good question. I wouldn't say it's like a daily battle, but it's something that crosses your mind. Like, especially when you got like a day off from practice and you're like, this is so nice. I didn't do anything today.
Yeah.
It's really nice. But also for me, I need, at this point, like I think because it's been 4 years now and 5 for you, I need a schedule. And so when I have like, especially when we end season, so in mid-April, those like next few weeks, I'm just like a zombie. I don't do anything
all the time.
Lazy.
I mean, I can't imagine. I always say the schedule you guys have is just crazy. I don't know how you keep up with it. And then the fact that you're having to drive also to your facility, like it's just extra added things on top of the regular student grind that you have to have here at TCU. It's not an easy school, right? We got a lot of homework. People forget, like we have things to do. And then being a student athlete here is just so impressive. So kudos to you guys on that.
Thank you.
Just wait until you're done. You won't know what to do with yourself.
I know, seriously. Now, Mady, I wanted to ask you, we talked about it earlier. You had an internship last summer with Nike.
Yes.
Can you tell me all about that? I want to hear it. It's so cool.
It was really pushed. It's always been pushed through TCU Athletics. And it's an internship that I want to say at least 2, maybe even 3.
Jada and Bree.
And I think there was another equestrian. It's just gone to equestrian for like 3 years in a row, I think, at this point. And so it's something that's always been very like talked about in our team. But as a freshman, you don't ever think like, oh, I could do that. And I just slowly started applying when they started pushing it, and they brought on the recruiters on Zoom to have like a mass like talk with a ton of like athletes from other schools. And I just slowly started going through the recruiting process, and it was really interesting because they place you where they think you're best. It's not like, I mean, I think my specialty area would be like marketing. But they really narrowed it down for me and was like, this is the more creative route of marketing here at Nike, and this is where we think you'd be best. And so you start talking to a recruiter, and then you move on from a recruiter to like a manager, and then you have it was a long interview process. It went from August to January.
Wow.
And then once I got it, they sent me up to Oregon for the summer, which was amazing.
So cool.
And I was on the coolest team. I was on the sneakers team. So
and you got shoes.
The sneakers team, so like the sneakers app, where they all the like nice, cool shoes drop, and so it was that was just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Wow. And I had no idea that it's gone to an equestrian girl like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's great notoriety to the equestrian team at TCU. That's so impressive. I love that.
Your life is cool.
Yeah. I mean, sneakers, you lucky girl. I feel like that's everyone's ideal like marketing unit that they could be a part of at Nike.
It was insane. And my highlight was going to, they had this like convention where they brought in all their partners. So all like the storefronts they have, and carry shoes in and send shoes to.
Wow.
All those people came in for this big convention, and I got to see like all the shoes coming out this summer, like the new Jordans, the new, like hold them in my hand, like top secret. Yeah.
Gosh.
It was really, that was
Oh my
really
God,
cool.
I would
So
post
cool.
it.
Michael Jordan's son was like right next to me getting lunch.
Oh my
What?
Yeah, I swear.
So we have a celebrity at our
That's
table.
crazy.
That's what we're
Basically.
hearing.
His
Wow.
son.
So jealous. Well, we're going to head to a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear more from these two live at John's Grill. Stay tuned, everyone.
T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
On the pursuit of happiness, and I know everything is shining like it's
Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay Dixon, the proud owner and founder of Fans Vintage. We sell rare and vintage gear for all things TCU. I graduated from TCU with an MBA in 2020 and actually started Fans Vintage as part of a class project during COVID. And now, 2 years later, we've grown from selling random vintage gear on Instagram into a full-time retail business with rare and custom gear you can't find anywhere else. This business has always been about creating a community of passionate fans and bringing people together where nostalgia and school pride collide.
We couldn't have gotten here without your tremendous enthusiasm and support. So thank you, and we can't wait to share what's next.
Stay tuned, and as always, go Frogs.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers. Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIDrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy. John's Grill is the newest venture from John Bonnell and the Bonnell's Restaurant Group. A ranch-to-table concept featuring food, beer, and spirits from around the great state of Texas. Our menu is designed by Chef Sean Alvarez and features 2 chef-inspired burgers, the Fatty and the Flatty, plus a brisket menu perfect for your casual night out. Fast casual service in a fun, relaxed, family-friendly environment. Featuring 11 big screen TVs for you to catch the big game on. Our mixology team has created a craft cocktail and beer menu featuring local spirits and brews from across Texas. John's Grill, home of the Players Club show each week. 2905 West Berry Street in Fort Worth. Or online at johnsgrill.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to John's Grill. We're live here with the Players Club. We got some Diet Cokes from John's Grill. They got all the drinks and food in the world here. We just saw a little commercial from them. Got to make sure to come check them out here in person and also look up their menu at johnsgrill.com. They got an Instagram as well, so make sure you check out all their stuff. We're very grateful to be here every Thursday hosting our live show. Now, we want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about equestrian team dynamic. So, first of all, how many of there are you? And then what is the dynamic like? It's all girls. So what is the dynamic like of an all girls like unit that you have? I just love it. It's like girl power all the time. It's amazing.
So there are about 40 of us total. So like 20 English, 20 Western, give or take a few.
Yeah.
And the best way that we like to, like, we are like your family. You
Yeah.
don't always like everybody, but you always love them.
Yeah.
And we've tried to create like a very close dynamic on our team, especially being captains this year.
Yeah.
Just you're always there for each other. You're always happy for who goes in, and it's like a family.
I love that.
And it sounds super cheesy.
It
Like
does.
usually I
It
feel
really
like when I
does.
hear people say, I'm like, sure. But it
Yeah.
really truly is. I feel like that's been something that's so important to us and our coaches is just finding the right kind of girl to be a part of this team.
Yeah.
So a lot of us do have a lot of common ground, which I think makes it a lot easier for us to have that kind of family outlook.
Yeah.
And know that maybe we're not the best of friends, but you can come to me for whatever, no matter what, and I'll always be there for you.
And like to your point, it is a group of 40 girls, so
Yeah.
like don't like stray from that. But
It's like a sorority. That's like a
huge.
sorority
yeah,
at
and
some
it's a
places.
working like
Yeah.
unit, which is so
and
odd.
one of the nicest things is you don't, I mean, in your high school and your wherever you went, middle school, like I was definitely a horse girl, big horse girl.
Big
There's
horse girl,
like
yeah.
they're few and far between.
Yeah.
So coming and having 40 people who just love horses, like that
that's a
sounds
good
so like
feeling.
dorky,
No,
but
I
it
love it.
is. Even
true.
if you can't find common ground with that like person next to you, maybe you guys, just completely different people.
Yeah.
I think having that common ground of loving horses is such a
So
unique thing.
special.
So it does make it a lot closer.
Yeah, and animals are like the best. That literally gives me chills because I'm just thinking, no, seriously,
daily
it does.
therapy.
It does.
Because, like I said before, I maybe could name one girl that rode horses from my like public high school in California,
Yep.
and they come from different places, small towns, whatever. And when you find you're riding you're a D1 sport, collegiate athletics, like you're at an impressive high stakes level, and then coming together with girls that are like, yeah, we have one thing perfectly in common. That's probably the best feeling when you get to college.
Well,
right?
and I think even forming friendships within specifically the Big 12, because we see them just all the time.
Yeah.
That has been so nice because those are people you're going to see forever. Horses, it's not
such
a
a
sport.
tight knit community.
Yeah, it's not a
Really?
sport
Oh, yeah.
like soccer or gymnastics where once you stop, you stop. You can do it forever and be extremely competitive forever. So I know that the people who I've become friends with on other teams, like I will see them for years and years to come, along of course with the girls on my team. But it's just another connection that maybe we have like a rivalry while we're here, but we know it's like that's common ground with someone.
Yeah,
That's so cute.
I love that.
It's like a special bond.
Totally. Wait, so you said when you came in your freshman year, you guys were together all throughout your 4 years or whatever, and there was no seniors, or what were you saying about
the girls who were on roster at the time were all seniors. So when
you
they
lost basically your
graduated,
whole team.
we lost the starting lineup on the
Wow.
English side my freshman year.
So what was that like rebuilding that side of the program?
Oh, Lord.
Basically,
I mean, we all just like it was like 4 freshmen and I think 1 sophomore, like in each discipline, and we were just kind of like, oh well, here we go. We're doing this because we're thrown into it, so why not? And I mean, we gave it our all. My roommate is incredibly talented, and she was a first-team All-American her freshman year.
Wow.
So you just kind of went and did your thing and hoped that it was the best you could do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably feel like a foundational part of that
For sure.
side, right? Because you were there for 4 or 5 years, like really building up the program. That's so impressive. And it can be hard, I would say, to stick with something when you're a whole new class of girl. Like, you got a lot to live up to and to work on as a team, build your chemistry, like all of those things. So that's so impressive. And now, is it a range of grades? Like, do you have freshman, sophomore, junior, senior?
Yeah, there's a lot larger range now, I would say. I felt like when I came in as a freshman, it was either the class was really big or the class was really small.
Okay.
And I feel like it's definitely evened out now.
Yeah.
And I think because I felt kind of at least on the Western side, my freshman year, it was the same thing where they all were seniors for the most part. And so when they left, it was like, it was a huge gap. Yeah, it was like, what do we do now? But I think that's been one of the coolest things is because I felt like as a sophomore that I was an upperclassman.
Yeah.
So feeling like we've been part of that for so long, and to see where we've come now. I mean, the fact that we've, lost 3 meets this season, and for the past 2 years have come within just so few points of winning the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like you feel like it feels like good. It feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said this before. I felt like, now I feel like I know everything about. No, I'm kidding. I don't know everything, but I feel like I've learned so much. Like I feel great about it. But before that, I would just kind of see, like, honestly, a photo of you on a horse, like on the TCU Athletics Instagram, and I'm like, wow, we're so impressive. You guys have really just built this like unit and legacy behind you for TCU Equestrian. You got to be proud of that, right? Looking back on it.
For sure.
It's impressive.
Random, but you guys know Hannah. There's a girl on your team dating one of the guys on swim. Right?
Yes, Hannah.
Yes, she's my little.
Oh, you guys do
Actually,
littles.
We do
and
bigs and
bigs, too.
littles.
Oh,
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
It's like a sorority. It is like a
My
sorority.
little
love that.
is Kylie Baker.
Okay, cute.
Yeah.
So you guys have like families and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ish. Yeah.
Kind of.
So
Yeah.
you can
So,
like
I think
totally pull
my
off
family's
the
pretty
sorority
small right
thing.
now.
You could pull
Yeah,
off the
they're
sorority thing
sorority.
with
My
40
mom
girls.
always joked because she was like really big into her sorority when she went to school, and
Yeah.
she was like, "You don't have to join a sorority. You have 40 girls on your team when you have bigs and littles. You're good. You
Honestly,
skip rush."
if
Like-
if any sport is to have like the big little type of sorority,
Oh, yeah.
that makes
This
the most
is the
sense to me.
team.
Equestrian,
Yeah.
and it's like we were talking about earlier, which we need to get into, but that's equestrian is just bougie to me. Like everything about it is bougie.
Yeah.
The outfits that you're wearing, like you're riding a beautiful horse.
It's a very
The fan base is somewhat put together. I feel like there's watching, or is that not true? Maybe it's just
No, I mean it's definitely
Texas.
a certain class of sport, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And that's not to say you can do it at all levels.
yeah.
There's the insane, like you're spending millions of dollars on horses who are going to the Olympics.
That's
or
what I was gonna
there
say.
is, I mean, there's just so many ways to do it.
There's so many
Yeah.
levels to ride.
Yeah.
They're that much money. Like I feel like horses
No,
are
it's
expensive.
Oh, yeah, that's like
it gets
$1 million, like,
crazy.
baseline for an
but
Olympic
I have a
horse.
question because my aunt used to ride equestrian, and she was in a barn. Like she would go to a barn where she had to go out in the morning, like brush the horse, wash the horse. Like they had to take care of their horses, and she said it was always better than the barns where you would just pull up and they'd have the horse ready.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's better to have those barns where it's like you have to take care of the horse, like you have to get to know the horse?
I think for sure, because it's just it's so much more personal.
Yeah.
And you just learn so much more. You can only learn so much if you just show up and hop on and
Yeah.
you don't do any of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like that in college where you have to take care of them?
We take care of all of our horses. Yeah.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Interesting. That I mean, I would think that you wouldn't want as much responsibility, but then also thinking back, it's like you create this relationship with the horse that you're riding, and that's playing a part in it, right?
Well, and it gets to a certain point. So I started at a place where, in Charlotte, where I took care of all my horses' stuff. I clipped them, I brushed them, I did this, meds, whatever. But then now I ride at a barn where we do have grooms, and at a certain level, you can just ride more horses throughout the day. I could
Yeah.
not take care of 10 horses in a day
Of course.
and ride them for an hour each. But when you have grooms, you can ride 10 hours a day, and you can get more done. So at a certain level,
Efficient,
it does
yeah.
become more efficient. Yeah, but for sure, the bond, if you're riding one singular horse, I love doing it myself.
Do you guys have like a home horse, like your first horse that you still?
I was gonna ask. Yeah.
Yours.
I've never had a horse, so I've never had my own. Mm-mm.
So you just rode around different ones when growing
Yes,
up.
I've always kind of ridden for people.
Interesting.
See, Western's completely different because it is, at least with reining, and I think the horsemanship, you have to own your horse. Like English, you don't have to
Yeah.
own it. So
Oh,
my
we have, like,
first,
certain divisions, but
my
not a
first
lot,
horse
yeah.
was named Waffle,
Waffle.
and she was huge. Like
So
my
cute.
family
Love
knows
it.
nothing about horses, so
Yeah.
my mom found me some
Waffle.
random
So
trainer,
adorable.
and I would ride like thoroughbreds. I would ride
Yeah.
Arabians. I would ride like all
Like when
sorts
I'm
of different
riding.
kinds of horses. Yeah, all like different kinds. And now looking back, it seems so crazy. But my little sister now rides horses. She's going to UGA next year.
Wow.
equestrian.
Wait, Georgia? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Good
God,
for
wow.
her.
Yeah, so it's like become a huge family thing for us now.
Yeah.
and, yeah.
So what got you, both of you, into it originally then?
Yeah.
like I said, I was just a big horse girl.
Really?
Like
Okay.
I was huge. Like
It was strictly your love
and my
for the
mom,
horses.
yes, my mom was like, I thought you were just going through like a pony phase. You wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
She was like,
Never stopped.
you like really wouldn't stop talking about it. So she took me on a trail ride, and then I think that made it worse. And then she finally got me lessons, and I've just never stopped since.
Wow.
Cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
sweet.
What about you,
I
Wynne? How'd you
think
get into it?
my mom had like ponies in the backyard growing up when that was legal in like downtown Charlotte.
Yeah.
And she and her friend actually rode with her, and her daughter was my best friend in kindergarten. So we were like, let's do a summer camp together.
Yeah.
And we, same thing, like never stopped
Aw.
talking about horses.
I
We
love
did lessons
that.
together. Yeah.
You guys are making me wish that my mom like put
I
me
know,
in a
what-
equestrian when I
The
was
horse
young.
phase
What
is the
the-
best phase.
like,
I
yeah.
could just have a completely different trajectory at this point
I
in
know.
life.
You guys are. This sounds so fun.
I know.
This
It
is
is really
interesting.
fun.
This is
Way to go
my
through life.
favorite sport we've done so far because I know nothing.
Aw.
Seriously.
And it's so
Learning a lot.
interesting, and you guys have to overcome so much.
Yeah,
Like,
it
that's
makes you a
insane.
tougher athlete, like
For
a stronger
sure.
athlete. Like I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Now
thank
we're about to run out of time here, but I want to
I
do our
know.
ending segment that we do with every athlete every time we have them on the
Okay.
show. It's our little hot seat. So we're just
Okay.
gonna go through like some rapid fire questions, like quick
Okay.
responses you
Ooh.
both can answer. Emma, you want to start with the first one?
Okay, well, first I'm going to start with an audience question. Shout out to our audience.
Woo! They're not paying attention, but they do have a question.
But they were asking if you guys had any crazy horse stories.
I do. One time I was like as a child. You mean it doesn't have to be at TCU?
Yeah.
I was taken off with, but my foot got like stuck in the stirrup, so I couldn't get it out, and the pony just took off with me in the field, and I finally hit a tree and fell off the back of the pony. But I was okay. I was totally fine. But it was like, don't put your foot too far in the stirrup.
My grandma always tells us a story that she would ride like Shetland ponies when she was younger, and like one time it like took off with her,
like
and she was like flailing off the back.
Ponies are like notoriously mean.
Really?
I mean,
I got all the time.
I got kicked in the stomach when I was a kid, which was like an inch from my ribs,
Lord.
and
that probably knocks you out for an hour.
It was bad, and he was a big horse. But I really don't have a ton of crazy stories. I mean, my most recent crazy stories is I was just walking a horse on concrete, which you're never supposed to do.
Okay.
And I think his butt hit a trash can, and he's like a baby. He's 3, so he freaked out, and he did a little buck, and I did a somersault off of him and landed like a starfish on the concrete. But I was okay. I mean, it was pretty sore.
She's here.
I'm
so.
here. Yeah,
Wait, why are you not
still
supposed
riding.
to walk them on concrete?
They're
like sensitive
shoes.
They're metal, so they can slip.
I see that TikToks of them cleaning out the horseshoes all the time.
I love those.
Those are very
really
sensitive.
love those.
Okay, anyways, ending segment. Go.
We have time for like 2 questions.
Okay,
so
Okay,
we'll pick
which one should we do? Let's do the biggest ick first.
Okay, yeah. Emma's really dying to ask this. What's your biggest ick?
I don't know
about anyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a guy, but just like
okay.
someone that like gives you an ick for something that they do consistently.
I would say when someone goes to shake your hand and they have like a limp hand.
And they have a limp
hand. Like it's not like a strong. It's like it's
you gotta have confidence.
That's one I've never heard before.
Wow.
Now
I'm gonna think about that every time.
Yeah, you gotta give a firm handshake. Firm handshake.
What about you? You have an ick?
I think like just dirty. Like if I walk into your room and there's like a smoothie from like 3 weeks ago, that gives me an ick.
You would not like my room right now.
I'm sure I wouldn't.
All right, another one I have to ask you guys. Anything that you'd go back and tell your freshman year self now?
Oh, don't take this too seriously. You do better when you don't. You do better when you all the way around.
Yeah, I feel like everyone can take
that
advice.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with that, Mady?
Yeah.
For sure. Well, you two, it was lovely being joined by you guys today.
God, so
seriously, this is like our favorite conversation.
So flew by.
Learned so much about equestrian. Yeah. So grateful you guys could take the time, and wishing you luck at NCEA tournament. Am I saying it right?
That's it.
Yeah, against Texas A&M. I know you guys will come out on top. I'm so confident. I feel like I can ride a horse right out of Jonesboro.
Yep.
Just want to remind all you guys watching to join us live or online at frogstoday.com to catch the Players Club at 6 p.m. every Thursday. We're going to be here for a few more weeks, finishing out this semester. So make sure to check us out. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Frogs Today to see some TCU athletics content on there. You want to make sure to stay up to date with all of our stuff. Again, I'm Olivia Lee.
I'm Irma.
And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.